I'm not visible. It's the thing that I made a joke about just a second ago because I was using a different app for
It's
VTubing.
my stream. I told you
It's
it's my stream.
it's your
I'm in
stream
control.
now. Okay, I'm here. Um, Hello everybody. It is September 16th, 2024 at 7:01 p.m. EST. You're watching the DOVECOTE episode 43 with JD of Rat Bastard Games. JD, introduce yourself.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm JT. I am Rat Bastard Games. I made Hypermall Unlimited Violence. Um, I I don't know what else to say.
Have you made anything else? Because I know you from Hypermall, but I'm curious if there's anything else that you've made that folks might know you from.
So Hypermall is my first commercial game.
Cool.
But I also made a free game a couple months before Hypermall called Don't Kill a Bird with a Baseball, about being Randy Johnson and trying to fight against fate.
Right. I knew about this game and I completely did not think about the fact that this was your game. This one's really good. Um,
Thank you. I've never played it.
I've never played it either, but I mean uh, it's kind of a lyric game, isn't it? Like, or at least like, I feel like in terms of use case, it's a lyric game.
I'm not exactly sure if I understand what a lyric game is, but like from my limited understanding, I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't know if I understand what a lyric game is either, but
Oh, awesome! I'm not the only one. That's
yeah. Well, because I've been so last week we had Logan who made Logan who's made a bunch of really great games, a bunch of really great games that are kind of in the lyric category. Um, and I've been listening to his show, which is lyrical ludology, which is all about lyric games, and I still don't feel as if I fully understand what a lyric game is, but I'm like I'm starting to identify traits. I'm seeing symbols in the dark, and they're taunting me. um, I have to bring in a bird. There's an interview bird that has to join us here. Say hello everybody to Intrero the interview bird. I should have like a clapping sound effect that that happens when like clapping and audience cheering when the birds come out. But
I was clapping, but my mic didn't pick it up.
thank you for clapping. I think Intrero appreciates that. Um, I mostly want to talk to you. I mean, I want to talk to you about a lot of things. I want to talk to you about games that you like and stuff. But first of all, I'd love to talk about Hypermall because I read. Uh, I would say I read the mechanics. I read the book. I definitely skimmed some elements because like I just realized today
I
that I
understand.
have it. Um, but really really great. Some really really fun tables and various like things and guys and also just like really cool like uh, uh photo manipulation art. I should probably do these bits one at a time. I guess to start, how because I something that I noticed pretty early on is like this is very I think very directly Troika. Is that accurate that it has some Troika qualities?
Yeah. So like what I got from Troika. I mean, I really like Troika. I've only had a chance to play it once, but I've read the book a bunch. I really enjoy it. Um, is that like the idea that these backgrounds don't have to necessarily be like what you would consider a traditional class, I guess. Like the one time I played Troika, I was that I forget the name of it, but it's the background where basically your job is hauling things and like you're just a servile laborer. And it was one of the most fun times I've ever had. So that was like a big inspiration, like because there's really weird backgrounds in Hypermall. It's like you can be a hamburger worker or like all this stuff that's not necessarily like useful, but it is funny.
hmm
And I don't know. But yes, it is very much Troika in that sense.
I just did a little test roll on the background table. So we got 26 Hog Hunter, You follow the ways of your ancestors, hunting boar with sharpened phone and broken rebar. You do not eat as the weak ones do, trundling to the hamburger store whenever they get hungry. You earn your meals through blood and sweat, facing squealing death each day. To eat is to kill. Glory to the pig god. And then alternatively 62, which is Midland Cigarettes Bionic. Oh, no, is that a? Yeah, that's a background.
Yes, you can
Yes.
be a vending machine.
Midland Cigarettes Biotic Venditron. Can a vending machine love? Can a vending machine hate? Can a vending machine feel anything at all? Your creators wanted to find out, so they grew your organic frame onto a lattice of glass and metal. The result, a rectangular abomination of flesh and steel, capable of walking, talking, and most importantly, selling cigs. They gave you arms and hands to hold a gun. They gave you eyes to see potential thieves. They gave you a brain to understand your suffering. It does feel pretty good when the cigs come out. Um, and then there's a quote: "Smoke mints, trademark. Enjoy the smooth taste of a Midland cigarette right in your hole. I wish I could die." Um, I love, I love all of this. I love the voice of this. I think
Me too.
obviously, I mean, I recently finished Cruelty Squad, and I think that there's a lot of Cruelty Squad DNA here.
Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Um, I'm curious, like, what elements of Cruelty Squad did you kind of draw and draw from and kind of um, you know, build into the writing here.
So, Cruelty Squad's a fucking hilarious game.
Mm-hmm.
It's really funny. Um, Hypermall came to me in an actual dream. I woke up and I had this idea of like, what if Paul Blart was Master Chief, and that was a video game. That was the seed. And for a while, I entertained the idea of being like, I'm gonna learn how Godot works. No, I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand computers. I'm bad at it. But I wrote all this design document basically, um, and stuff. And then I just sat on it. I wrote like dialogue for potential NPCs that would just be like random people in the mall. You would like click on. They'd say hilarious things to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was kind of like a world building exercise. And then I was like, oh wait, I really like tabletop games. Why don't I make it? I should probably just make this a tabletop. Like I don't know why it took me so long, but it did. And then and then I went into a fugue state and I made a tabletop game. But the Cruelty Squad elements are like definitely the aesthetic, like ugly, kind of on purpose. Um, like the basic what you're doing is very Cruelty Squad. Like your job is killing people for money. Um, and I don't know of other tabletop games that are specifically about being an assassin. I know they exist. I just like personally I don't know what they are. You can be an assassin in a lot of games, but that's
You
very
have a
rarely
heart
what
of
they are
gold.
about.
Don't let them take it from you.
And so I wanted a game about that, about killing people as a job,
Yeah.
which sounds stupid, but like what? Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just how dystopian Cruelty Squad is, and how funny it is, and yeah, just like and all the meat. The big thing for me was you don't really have cybernetics in Cruelty Squad like you do, but most of them are like you have a grapendix, which is your intestine that you use a grappling hook. That's fucking hilarious. That's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
awesome. Something I noticed that I really liked in Cruelty Squad, and I also really like about this book is like the only like I mean, I think the only modes of salvation and damnation that you can find in Cruelty Squad are through like this weird kind of like fascistic libertarian like esotericism, and I don't think there's salvation in in your book, which I think is really fun. I think it's good because I think it invites like, you know, what is going on in the death realm? What can you do there? What can you not do there? But I really like that element of like weird esotericism as like the consumer is a thing in Hypermall that I really love. I'm kind of curious like where that came from and if you had any other inspirations kind of going into that
For the consumer.
for the consumer and kind of like the the
the
occult,
religious stuff.
yeah, the occult elements.
So the consumer was like, I had used the word consumer a lot in writing because that's what we are to capitalists, right? We are, we're consumers. We're people. We're all we do is buy stuff, right? And then I thought, well, it'd be really funny if I used that, like, instead of the devourer or the great destroyer or like, the god of death or whatever. What if it was the consumer, and that's like this eldritch. It's not like an H.P. Lovecraft thing. It doesn't make you go crazy, but it's like, or maybe it does. I forget, but whatever. It's like, I don't know. It was just a way to. I just thought it would be funny.
It's good.
But the whole idea of the death dimension was, I had this idea, like, what if scientists figured out that the afterlife is empirically real and horrible. No, and there is no heaven. Like, there's no way out of it. This will always happen to you. Like, you will always be psychically tortured forever. And like, that would be terrible, right? And so that became part of the setting and became kind of the justification for all of this societal change that happened to result in the hypermall. Like, the resurrection matrix, the fact that you can't really die in the hypermall because the rich do not want to experience permanent forever torture, right? So they created this system where you get shunted into clone bodies. And I forgot what you were asking me, but
No, good answer.
yeah, like the ideas of like Samsara and stuff like that. That is a thing in Cruelty Squad, I believe. Yeah. When you die in Cruelty Squad enough, like, yeah, Divine Light severed, that kind of thing was part of it. The idea of the clone bodies specifically is like, I think I was playing System Shock 2 at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, they've got these like resurrection bays. That's kind of cool. How would that work in a tabletop game? Yeah, I don't know.
Hell yeah, it's really cool. It kind of it makes me think a little bit of Blades in the Dark in some ways, where it's like, I think that this theme specifically, I think, lends itself really well to TTRPGs because it kind of makes choice really fraught, which is like, when you like the idea that the dead will one day rise, like, or not the dead will rise up, but the dead are like pushing against the barricade of the living, and
Yeah.
I think that's really fun. You mentioned the aesthetics earlier, and I really like a lot of the background art is really great. A lot of the spot art here is really fun. A lot of photo minute, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah, in the edition that's currently out, almost all of it can be attributed to my buddy Brighton, who did a lot of the art. He's really awesome. The simpler, like, black and white stuff is mostly me, but he did all like the really weird collage stuff. And it's awesome. It's amazing. He did an amazing job.
Yeah. A lot of like very striking political imagery. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a I think the image that you've shown the most around is the Confederate Confederate flag with "I am an ephebophile," which is so fucking funny. With the libertarianism snake. Mr. Beast's mirrored dead-eyed stare is really good.
That is one of my favorite pictures I made. That's actually a mirrored picture of him. Like, it's half of his face mirrored, and he looks the same, which is really funny.
It's really good. And then you have some more serious stuff. Like, I mean, I think one of the most striking things here was including the images from the self-immolation of Aaron Bushnell.
Yeah.
And I thought that was in a really good place in the book. I'm kind of curious, like, what's your philosophy in like including this stuff in the book? What are kind of your hopes and intentions with it?
Thou hast journeyed far.
So, as a libertarian, I believe
I just got raided, so you might want to be careful.
Oh my
thank,
god!
thank you,
Hi.
thank you for the raid grief, by the way.
Yeah. I'm not a libertarian at all. No. So the idea behind that is to, like, for the libertarian stuff, it's really funny and
It is.
it's so, and like, I know a libertarian in real life that I don't get along with. He once got mad at me at a party for whispering as I walked by him, "Labor theory of value." He started shouting. So like, these people are like, you can make fun of them, but they like, they're self-parodying.
Hmm.
They're but the including Aaron Bushnell, is that his name? Yeah. Um, including that was I was iffy on that at first. I didn't want to like disrespect the what he did, and so I asked friends that were, well, it's just genuinely smarter and know more about politics than I did, and they all told me it was okay, that like, you're not disrespecting him, you're honoring. I don't. But like, I'm making a game that you sit around the table with and ignore the outside world, even though this game is like a dark reflection of reality, whatever. But I'm making a game during a genocide. Like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
You have to acknowledge. Like, I can't ignore. I can't pretend that that's not happening. So, like, right? You have to acknowledge that this is happening. There's the electroprod. I forget what it's called in the game. The baton that's electrified. You use it for non-lethal damage. It talks about, like, the description talks about the people who the Israeli guys who would go around getting like cum out of dead IDF soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that really happened, and that's insane. That's really cyberpunk and fucked up.
It is fucked. Yeah, here we go. Electroprod, board-approved rectal collection domestic enforcement utensil, 3 Originally designed to harvest precious semen from the bodies of heroic war criminals, the necrobiotic corpse soon recognized the electroprod's combat utility when swung at the skull of a civilian. The electroprod is still fielded for its original purpose by certain cum-obsessed colonial militaries. Really good. I very much agree. I see a lot of value in, like, I think this game is very much in its moment in a really good way. Like, you know, you have you have like a black and white grainy photo of Dracula Flow, for example, in this. And I think there's a lot of value in that. I think there's a lot of value in specifically acknowledging that we're making art within, you know, during a genocide, especially for a game that's, you know, so political. I think it's really great. So this is the itch version. Obviously, you did a Kickstarter recently, or was it Kickstarter?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. What are you? What sort of changes are you seeing for the post Kickstarter version?
Basically, most of the text is going to be the same. There's some additions, like some people have asked for clarity on certain game mechanics or whatever. That's to be expected, but it's pretty much completely different in that, like, layout is completely changed. The Every page is going to have background art.
Hell yeah.
Which is a bad decision on my part, but it's very rewarding. Yeah, it's, I don't know. This is my first book I've ever published. I don't. Yeah, it's just going to be
Nicer.
yeah, nicer, and I wouldn't say polished. I don't, but it's definitely going to be like,
More.
yeah, more art, and nicer to look at, but also ugly. You know.
Yeah. What's your kind of, so with background art with text on it? What's kind of your philosophy with that? Because I know, I've done some God, I'm really stuttery today. I've done some work that had you know, background art with text over it. And sometimes I worry about like accessibility with that. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that front.
I actually just you just made me realize though, I should probably consider colorblind people. Oops. Well, that's something to think about. Okay.
Oops.
Um,
That's okay.
no, that's good. No, it's that's a good thing to consider. So I have friends who are like, man, I really want to read Hypermall. It seems awesome. I can't look at it because it gives me a headache, and that's like the itch version.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's the black, like the white text on the black screen or whatever, or on the black background. But like that's not my intention. I'm not trying to be inaccessible. Like I'm disabled. I don't want to make it harder for other people to read this game. And like about accessibility, there's a reason specifically why disabled people are very rarely mentioned in the book. Because in this society, eugenics is rampant.
Right.
Like, and it's so hostile to any form of disability or neurodivergence or anything like that, that like basically the fascists got what they wanted and we've been outbred. Or genetically modified to the point where it's like they quote unquote fixed us. So like that is definitely a concern when it comes to, because a lot of the background stuff is really chaotic looking and sometimes hard to read. But for the physical edition, I'm using black boxes around the text to separate them, because otherwise it would be unreadable. So that is readability is a big concern, and I hope I am doing enough to make it readable, but that is definitely something to keep in mind. And I really do appreciate that. It had slipped my mind for colorblind accessibility and stuff like that.
I think black boxes are a really good way to do it, especially with a sorry, with a white on black. I am also sending you. There's a color contrast checker that I use. Actually, I'll send that in chat too, because people should use this. It's really useful. If you have like text on a background, you can determine if any color on that background. If any color on that background is like clashing with the text, which is really useful for making sure your text doesn't suck. I personally didn't have too much of a hard time reading it. I do definitely think that like full black boxes on some of the background art will be great. Because it is really cool background art. Like it's very like photomoshy and.
I use photomosh all the time.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Having that exact issue right now. Yeah, use it's literally free. use the color contrast checker. Or ask me. Just like send me a message and be like, "Hey, does this look okay?" And then I'll use my contrast. I'll use my color contrast checker. I've done this for a lot of people. But yeah. Hell yeah. I'd love to talk about, are there any games, TTRPGs that you have been reading, thinking about, looking at, playing recently that you'd like to talk about?
Well, currently, I'm a dum-dum, and I scheduled this on the day where I'm supposed to be in a game of Urban Shadows.
Oh.
So I had to cancel it. I was like, I'm sorry, guys. That they'll be fine without me. So I've been playing that. I am extremely bad at scheduling, so that's the only game I'm currently in, which is weird for a lot of people. Like in the tabletop space, like, what do you mean you're not in like 400 games? I have in my desk next to, I have Necronautilus, which I've been paging through and reading. I played it at a Breakout Con. It was amazing.
Nautilus.
By World Champ. Adam
hell
Weiss.
yeah. This looks sick.
It's really cool. You play as death agents, which are like clouds of toxic gas, and you use like word games as magic. It's really fun. Sick. You have words of power and they can affect the world, and the words themselves change and their meaning changes. It's really neat. I have like Morkborg in here.
Nice.
Yeah, never played Morkborg, but it's
Neither.
very cool.
It seems neat. It's definitely got a really a really like eclectic and unique layout.
Oh yeah.
And then Urban Shadows I feel like is such a kind of an like underspoken like I think okay, here's what I'm gonna say about Urban Shadows. I think
Yeah.
Urban Shadows is a very well designed game. Uh
Hmm.
that like is almost too sleek, like aesthetically. And so like people have assumed that it's like Monster of the Week, but I think it's like a pretty good I think it's like a pretty good, pretty sexy PBTI. Uh which is to say
Yeah.
like it's like Apocalypse World, you know?
I I also have Monster Week, and I think I haven't even read Urban Shadows. It just our GM was like, "Here, we're gonna play this." I'm like, "Okay." Um, I think it's a better game than the Monster of the Week.
Oh,
Just like
100%.
just based on how they use the playbooks and stuff. I'm playing an Immortal, and it's super fun. Like just yeah, I don't know. It's a fun game. It's really good.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
relational, which I think is good. That's a Magpie game, right?
is it? I have no idea. I
I
could not tell you.
Yeah, I think it's Magpie. I've come to see. I used to not know these things, and then I started doing a show where I have to know about games, and so now I know about some of this stuff. Uh, who made Urban Shadows?
It is Magpie.
It is Magpie. Nice. Or yeah. Um, cool. But yeah, I really like that game. I would love to play that game at some point. It's been I touched it once for a play-by-post, and then I read through it, and then I didn't really ever touch it again. Um, that's kind of that's kind of true about a lot of tabletop games I've played. Um, but you know, the curse of being the knower. Yeah, I'm the knower. Are there any kind of looking forward? Are there any games that are coming out or in funding or any of that sort of stuff that you're looking forward to? To?
I've backed Plasmodics.
Hell yeah.
Um, I almost got to play in it at Breakout, but I had to switch my schedule around, and I regret it. I wish I had, but
Oh,
um, it would have been cool to meet Will. Um, so Plasmonics and Blood. What is it called?
blood.
Bloodborg. Bloodborg, I think.
Bloodborg. Yeah.
Yeah, the one with the puke bag, stretch goal.
Hell yeah.
Uh, which is that is so cool.
That's
Have
pretty
an
sick.
adventure printed on a throw up bag. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something similar for the we never ended up doing this. We wanted to be very basic with Hypermall stretch goals, but I wanted to have coffin nails as like a stretch goal that you could have. Just mail you some branded coffin nails, and we did look at distributing them.
Yeah. Something that I really like about this, just looking at the Kickstarter, that is unfortunately over. I mean, I guess fortunate for them because they made the event they wanted to. Something really cool about it, is the use of like a photo shoot, like doing a cool little photo shoot and then using that for the images for your game. I think is really neat. I know.
Which game?
Bloodborg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know. What's I had her on recently. What's her name? Not Rat Bastard, Rat Wave. Who? Kayla, yeah, Kayla from Rat
I know
Wave.
who you're talking about. Rat
Yeah,
Wave, yeah.
who's doing a Transgender Deathmatch Legend 2, did a very cool photo shoot with her ex that I've been seeing. Very bloody, very bloody, gross pictures from recently. Very hot, bloody, gross pictures from recently, which is great. I think more people should get a bunch of fake blood and do a photo shoot with a bunch of queer people for their games.
I'll
Thumbs
keep
up.
that in mind for the second edition.
Hell yeah. Yeah, get a bunch of like you need to get like people with like really like whatever. Do you know who Connor O'Malley is?
No.
That's crazy.
I'm new. I'm very.
No.
I haven't been doing this. I've been doing this for less than a year.
It's not even a TTRPG thing. It's Connor O'Malley does YouTube videos and he's like a comedian and he does stuff that is like I think so severely up your alley. I'm gonna send you some stuff from him because it's
Okay,
like
sounds awesome.
he does uh like for example, recently he did like a horror thing about like a guy who there's another version of him who lives in Las Vegas, and like they fuse together, and he starts going around talking about like how he's gonna like become the king of this place, and how he's gonna like he asks to you guys like, hey, what do you do? And they say, we're in tech, and he says, oh, that's not gonna be around soon.
We're in what?
Like they say like we're in tech,
Oh, tech.
and he says, yeah, that's not gonna be around anymore.
That's really funny.
He does a lot of like, you know, I'll he has this whole thing, this whole video about like how they're rebooting Mickey Mouse, and like the guy who's supposed to reboot Mickey Mouse gets like killed by the Panera Bread death squads. It's very Cruelty Squad. It's very like you know, worst future vibes.
Panera, don't kill me.
It's exactly.
I'm gonna do the rest of the interview like this.
I'm really scared of that personally, and I think I would start running away from
I was the rat bastard this whole time.
the mouse bastard.
Yes.
They should do Behind the Bastards on Mickey Mouse. But yeah, that is interesting. What the thing I was gonna say is Connor O'Malley has this one video where he like dresses in like a mesh shirt, like normal jeans, and like a Matrix trench coat, and I think that's what you need to get trans women to wear in in Hypermall Ultraviolence 2 photo shoot, and I think that will give you 2 million trillion Kickstarter bucks. It's my personal opinion.
I know a lot of trans women. I could probably do that.
I mean, that's the thing about tabletop games, is the T-girl quotient is very high.
It's so many. There's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a complaint. It's great, but it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's the what am I thinking of? Anyways, yeah, it is kind of crazy. I think part of it is just like, I don't know. I could try and like psychoanalyze why trans women make TTRPGs all week.
It's actually just a side effect of E. That's all it does.
Yeah, when you take enough estradiol, you start thinking about you're drawn intrinsically to Google Docs, and then you open it up and you start making a game.
And it makes you question, what if there was a little guy, and
what if there's a goblin or a gremlin?
Yeah, what if there was a goblin? Wouldn't it be fucked up?
Wouldn't it be fucked up if there were a goblin and he was like a character? Yeah. Cool. How's about we talk about the news?
The economy, folks.
Two kind of bleak stories this week, unfortunately. I don't even know how much I want to go into this one, but it's really annoying. I mean, it's not really. I have mixed feelings about this. We'll talk about it. Let's talk about Hasbro CEO saying that AI will become a core part of Dungeons and Dragons. We've already been using AI. This image is crazy. This image is wild.
Please stop doxing me.
You should use this image in Hypermall. Like, just really like shred this image. I'm
the token straight white guy. Hey, well, hold on. Someone in chat. That's my thing.
Yeah, that's JD's job.
Can you ban them? This is my thing.
Again, another cis man coming into trans women's TTRPG space is asking me to ban, I think, other trans women from my chat. I'm not sure. Hive Indicator, please correct me if I'm wrong. I wasn't entirely 100% certain on that.
It's really funny.
Oh wait, no, you're the token. You literally said you're the token straight white guy. I think I just see Hive, and I think of the meme, the we need to repopulate the Hive, and I assume that's a trans woman. Also, like the pink text and the 2023 thing with the heart. You listen, Hive Indicator. I mean this in the best way possible. You come in with a very You come with a very feminine, you come with a variety of feminine signifiers, and so I identify you as a woman. But you can be a straight white guy if you want to. I'm not going to stop you from doing that.
It's great.
Yeah. Uh,
Everything is for us. It's awesome.
yeah. The world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. I can't stop you. Assign gender at DOVECOTE. Exactly. We're giving out genders here. Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah. Oh man, I already don't like Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
I think 5e is a bad game that people shouldn't play.
It's
But-
rather ungood, I would say.
Let me check. No, it's not. It's the opposite of good. This is a stupid business decision.
Yeah, it's a bad call considering like how young like when you look at like the age demographic that's like really getting excited about D&D right now, you have a big overlap with the people who are with the teens who are like artists and very upset about AI's kind of pervasiveness. I'm sure that there's a D&D and AI overlap. Like I'm sure because it's all slop and like there are some people who will simply go to the trough. But
Nutrients.
yeah. Some interesting quotes here. Inside of development, we've already been using AI. It's mostly machine learning based AI or proprietary AI as opposed to ChatGPT approach. We'll deploy it significantly and liberally internally as both a knowledge worker aid and as a development aid. Also, I'm probably more excited though about the playful elements of AI. I play with probably 30 or 40 people regularly. There's
That's
not a
fucking
single
insane.
person who doesn't use AI somehow for either campaign development or character development or story ideas. That's a clear signal that we need to be embracing it.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
People are like, I use AI for like ideas. Ideas are the easiest things in writing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has ideas. If you don't have ideas, go to a doctor. I don't. It is the easiest part. It's the one part you don't need any like skill at. Why would you need a robot to tell you that?
Yeah, and I also like. This is unrelatable to me because I also play with 30 to 40 people, but they get all their character ideas from pornography. So.
Well, see, now hold on a sec. Let's where do I join?
Listen, I play some good games. I've hired as a toy design major in art school right now, and they've started making AI a major part of... yuck. Gross.
Wait, okay, now I would love... Hey, ChatGPT, design a new toy for children. Like, it's just gonna be a non-functional transformer. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's gonna give you, like, something you squeeze, or something you, like, fold. Like, it's gonna be... It's gonna be an interactive, like it's gonna be a venue of interaction that already exists because it's is it AI porn? No, like people who I play TTRPGs with people who write games or whatever or like go to work or stream all day, and then they
Gooners are the most oppressed
and then they
class
goon
of people.
Yeah, like who look at like I don't know. Listen, I don't know where they're getting it. They're on E6T1. They're on like for Affinity, but they have interesting perspectives on characters and life, and you learn a lot about yourself by looking at a lot of like mind control stuff.
Jeez, actually, completely off topic. My grandfather was a professional hypnotist.
Oh, interesting.
So hit me up, everybody. I don't know how to do that. I have a book about it, but that's it.
Yeah, get that hypnotism book. use it use it as reference for your bizarre hypno teacher for sure. We sexual degenerates are, yeah, exactly, very enlightened. LLM-based GM tools are the worst way to solve the GM burnout problem that is part of D&D's legacy. Yeah, that is an interesting thought, that, like, so much of D&D's design is so overwrought, overdesigned, so, like, GM prep reliant, that, you know, that it, like, that I guess that's why people are might be using these things.
Yeah, IV does not give you the tools as a GM to like facilitate and run a game.
Mhm.
I've never run it because I'm like, I've read this book. It does not tell you how to run this game. What the fuck is an encounter level? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much unnecessary shit. And like, I can see why you might want to automate some of it. But the first thing they do is they automate the creative aspect of it. And then it's bad.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm also like, I don't know, like something I've been thinking about with Sapphic World, which is my big like fantasy heartbreaker, is like at some point, and probably in the first book, I'm gonna include like, here is a basic template for like a castle architecture. Dungeons in Sapphic World are called architectures. Here's a basic template for a mountain. Here's a basic template for a castle. Here's a basic template for a, I don't know, for someone's den, for someone's lair. And like D&D just doesn't have that. Like even like, I don't know, I feel like they should include like some maps in the book or something. But they just expect you to like go online and find that stuff from people who are making those things for free, or for money. And it's
Nice and logos, woo!
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they make it on that way on purpose to sell modules. That's very true. Like the material isn't there. You have to do so much legwork. I'm gonna be that person. A lot of players don't want to play D&D. They want to play Critical Role. They want to experience handed to them, not
true.
make it themselves. True. And I think a lot of players want Theater of the Mind in a lot of ways, which is like an interesting contrast. Yeah. A really interesting contrast to like how the game is supposed to be played. Sapphic World doesn't need a map. Yeah, that is true. That makes things a lot easier, because I can just kind of write up a little thing. But like, I don't know. I for one am like, maybe this is a thing I've developed over time just by playing so many games that are like really either like really great OSR games that have like really simple prep systems, or like prep or like in-game prep setup stuff where it's like you make an encounter when it happens. But like I see a future where we don't need games that are like D&D, or even like Pathfinder, and I think
they're the same game.
Yeah, I think like I hope that others can see that future, because I've played so many games that are like not just really simple and easy to play, but are also like really robust and complicated. I think about like Fellowship, where it's like, this is a game that, on the one hand, you can. I have run multiple sessions of Fellowship for the folks I've been running it for with zero prep. And then on the other hand, there is like a massive, massive, massive amount of stuff in that game. A complicated amount of stuff in that game. Things that it kind of, you know, loop back into themselves. Legacy campaign systems, like a lot of really cool stuff that you can have a spaceship. Like a lot of really cool stuff in that game that is all within the framework of a fairly simple, quote unquote, lightweight, because I hate using that word because I don't think it's useful. I think the future of games, like, for me, the things that I'm really excited about are, one, lightweight, and two, like, have advancement that's really compelling, and have, like, and can be played over, like, a number of sessions in ways that will continue to grow and advance. The times I've seen a game run out because of GM prep burnout is countless. Yeah. I think doing more of that stuff at the table is really good. And making tools for that. Because I do think that, like, you know, these tools are out in the open, the AI tools, and like, I think on some level, building games to avoid encouraging people to use them is a good step. It's not everything, but I think it's useful. Um, for D&D is, but not as Down We Go. I don't know if I played Down We Go. Down We Go sounds cool though.
I think I have a copy of it. It is kind of cool, if I remember correctly. I haven't
Yeah.
had a chance to play it though. I really like I really enjoy Maze Rats. I've only really played it a handful of times, but like it's one of those games that like just sticks in my head because the magic system is fantastic. It's just a very fun game with a. It's quite simple, but there's a lot of you can do a lot of stuff with very little with it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like what I'm excited about with fantasy RPGs, with like adventure games, you know.
Yeah.
Is the potential for this is a deceptively simple tool set. Because I don't really want like, you know, I think games like I think about like is it called Before the Spire Falls? Like really simple BOBs like that. I'm not too interested in, and I'm not interested in D&D. I think there's a middle ground. Like, I think about like Wanderhome as a really good example of like a game that has a bunch of bookkeeping and advancement and like really cool stuff that happens to your characters as you go through the story that you're telling, but is
Oh,
also
absolutely.
very easy to pick up and play. Um,
Yeah, the active character creation in Wanderhome's really cool.
yeah,
It's
love that.
I forget how it works, but there's something where it's like you basically for some of the backgrounds you like or the classes whatever you like basically can invent whole parts of the world to be like your part of your background, and it'll be like really interesting and really thought provoking in a way that very few games like a lot of games try to do it and very few games manage to pull it off. Um, Wanderhome's great.
Yeah, I very much I like Wanderhome a lot. It's I love to answer questions. I think like Belonging
Yes.
Inside Belonging is such a good structure for games, and I hope to see more evolution of it in the in the kind of like lyrically crunchy area. A lot of bookkeeping and writing notes and stuff. I think there's a lot of fun to be had there. Yeah, poetic crunch. Eden has coined this word after after we talked a lot about Sapphic World. Uh, Necronautus is looking really eyes emoji about that. Hell yeah. Um, yeah, like
No, the
not.
way Necronautilus does, sorry, just like word games is really intriguing, really cool. I highly encourage people to check it out.
Hell yeah.
All right, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I think I kind of cut you off. Um, but yeah, I really like I like when a game is I I'm tired of numbers. That's kind of part of
Yeah,
my thing. Is that I
yeah.
don't love numbers. I'm not really a numbers girl. I have a respect for it though. Like Wendy, my partner, makes OSR games that are pretty numbers rich. Um, but I do really like when a game is like, so here's the text. Um, the game is going to modify itself in some ways that are going to be weird and interesting, and you're gonna have to keep track of. And I think that's a really fun.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a pitch that I can be sold on. Um, cool. Do you want to talk about the second news story, and then we'll take a little break?
Sure.
Hell yeah.
This one I have a lot less to say about it because I don't know much about it. But
No worries. I'm basically going to cover all the stuff that I wasn't able to talk about with the Big Bad Con boycott. I'll kind of give an overall on this, which is that uh, uh, Esther and Ramna, who are two TTRPG creators in, uh, who are kind of in the like indie space, recently put out a call for Big Bad Con, basically a call for a boycott of Big Bad Con until they answered for a number of demands. Very simple demands, basically just asking them to apologize for censoring a a Jews and TTRPG panel for having a River to the Sea mention, and to make a statement, an anti-Zionist statement, and then also to in the future work with members of the community to kind of create a plan for dealing with these sorts of things in the future, and developing the culture at Big Bad Con to be more, I guess, equitable and caring to folks in the, BIPOC, Muslim, and non-Zionist Jewish communities. And so, there was a little bit of silence for a little bit, and some concerns about, they had a very short window to react to this stuff, and it was like, I think the call went out over the weekend, and then it was like Monday, Tuesday, and then we finally got this on Wednesday, which I guess I'll just read. I'll summarize this. So they said, we're listening, basically. On Tuesday, they had a meeting talking about all this, concerns about losing 501c3 status, which won't happen, considering, as they say, decided that we feel confident that we can make a statement. The odds of anything bad happening due to that are pretty low. Sorry, I'm doing these in backwards order because I'm autistic. So they reviewed the demands of the boycott, identified who they need to communicate with, identified their next steps, and discussed the concerns about losing 501c3 status, and decided they are not important. And then they contacted 2 cultural consultants, which is interesting, which kind of goes into the Friday announcement. Our second update, they met with Dr. Syed Atshan, who's a Palestinian associate professor of peace and conflict studies and anthropology at Swarthmore College, to help them revise their policies and craft a public statement. They were scheduled, I don't know if they did actually meet with Ratzman, because there was a lot of pushback, which I'll explain in a second. Dr. Elliot Ratzman, who's an academic and activist who teaches religion and Jewish studies, who's involved with a bunch of anti-war and peace stuff, reached out to anti-Zionists and progressive Jewish and Muslim consultants, further staff education about Zionism in Palestine, and then there was some stuff about the Discord. Basically, the Discord was kind of a fucking mess for a while, and they basically shut it down for the weekend, which I think was really smart, and muted some folks who keep coming back, which is really annoying. I do agree with Hippolyta's take here, which is, why do you need to meet with so many people to achieve something so simple? I think this is a really good take.
Yeah.
And then they did an addendum to Wednesday's update, and then with Khaldun Khalil, who's an Arab-Palestinian consultant who advocates for free Palestine, and a 20-year veteran of TeacherPG game design. I think the frustration that kind of came from this announcement was, okay, you're doing all of this, but you have people who are really experienced in these areas as game designers who are currently making art and games in the space, who know about these issues, right? Who know about how these issues affect them on a personal and professional level. And for a while, it seemed like they were not talking to those people, who I think, especially like Esther and Ramna, I think there was some frustration they weren't talking to them. I did get news just a little bit ago. Pretty much, like, I checked their Discord right before I went on here. So there are 2 things that are kind of pretty wild. One, Esther and Ramna were reached out to, which I think is great. I think it's a really good step, and I think that's really important in making this like a functional thing. I think it's pretty crazy that they've done 3 statements that are not the statement. Like, at this point, you've made 3 public statements. You haven't made 0, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is that there's this journalist who, if you're anywhere near me, like, if you're like kind of in the vague periphery of me on Twitter, let me see if I can figure out who this guy is. Because people should block this person, because it'll protect like you and it'll protect other people. Let me just see if I can find. There was a recent message about this. Oh, they just posted an announcement. Okay, well, we're gonna read this live. This was literally right now. 1 second. Let me find this first, and then we'll We'll talk. This is crazy. Okay. Um, let's see. I don't know if I can find this guy's name. Yeah, there's a dude who's a journalist. You've probably seen stuff about him. Who's been a quote unquote journalist. He works for the Quillette. Who's been a real piece of work recently. So if you see any mentions of him, just block him. Yeah. Okay. So how am I gonna do this? Because I need to get this on the stream somehow. I think I know the best way to do this, which is I'm just gonna put this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to no porn, no porn, no porn. Okay, we're good. So let's give this a thumbing through. So Monday 9/16, literally today, posted like 7:55. Met with Annie Zonelved, a writer, singer, songwriter, founder, and president of Muslims for Progressive Values (MPV). An international human rights organization that advocates for social justice and equality for all, a strong supporter of freedom of expression and of conscience, women's rights, and as an ally, LGBTQ rights. We've heard the community concerns about the signups during the boycott. We're checking availability of our staff to extend the dates, continued staff education about Zionism in Palestine, drafting policies regarding Big Bad Con public statements, event review and approval, Discord moderation. This is interesting. I'm curious if there was any. I know this might be related to the censorship, but I'm curious if this is related to any other stuff that people have been kind of complaining about. Drafting a letter to Hamna and Esther, the boycott organizers, to give an update on progress. We're continuing to reach out to anti-Zionist progressive Jewish consultants. And they mentioned a user joined the Discord with what appears to be the intention of recording the conversation, taking screenshots and distributing that outside of the Discord without permission. They were banned. We have temporarily prevented new users from joining this Discord. That's the Quillette guy. But yeah, really interesting. Kind of a lot of the same stuff. This is kind of a fourth announcement that's not an announcement.
Yeah, it doesn't seem particularly substantial.
Yeah, and then let's just talk about this really quick. So this Ratzman guy, he's said in a lot of places that he's a Zionist, and like he is anti-war, but he's kind of like, you know how they're like the people who like protested Israel for like the hostage stuff, but didn't protest for the like, you know, all like the 40,000 dead. Kind of that sort of vibe. It's like it's a very it's a very like Israel-centered point of view, which I don't think is super useful for understanding like the issue at large. But I hope that this isn't the main guy that they're taking takes from, I guess, is my thought on that.
I'll be the first to say it. I don't give a shit what a Zionist has to say about anything.
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting. I think continuing to say that they're meaning like people who are not in TTRPGs is helpful.
Not to like snitch jacket or whatever, but this is straight up how like the CIA does shit to like disrupt organizations. Constant meetings, constant memos, constant updating people with no real updates. Like, I'm not saying that that's what's going on here, but it's like the same shit.
Yeah. We're gonna look through something really quickly. White supremacist culture. Because I read this recently. I reread this recently because I'd read this in college. This is a Minnesota Historical Society segment from Dismantling Racism, a workbook for social change groups by Kenneth Jones and Tema Okun. So a couple of things that I think kind of worship of the written word, I think, is a big one here, where it's like we can't give a statement until we've given a statement. Like there's like a I don't know. There's a quality to this that's like not about like proper action and is more about like language, and I think paternalism is also a big one here. Power hoarding on some level, I think. Yeah, I
Sorry, how did this all start?
yeah,
Why did the boycott start? It was because they.
recommend reading
Actually, I
this.
don't.
I'll yeah. So hang on. I'll talk about the boycott in a second. I got distracted thinking about that. Okay. But yeah. Oh, I need. Speaking of distraction, I didn't bring Cordis the bird in. Cordis is coming from San Francisco, reporting live about Big Bad Con. So, reason why the boycott started. I think that's a good thing to reiterate, which is there was a or there still is a panel at Big Bad Con, which is like Jews and TTRPGs, and there were two things. One, there was some pressure. The group that organized that panel, um, basically put together a thing that was like, hey, if you're joining this panel, we're like expecting you not to be a fucking Zionist freak, basically. And my understanding is there was some pushback from Big Bad Con about that. And then the other element of it, which was the really big one, was they, in the panel organizers in their panel description, put from the river to the sea, and it was removed by Big Bad Con. Um, and then there was a bunch of communication between Esther and Ramna and the Big Bad Con people, because Esther and Ramna were kind of involved with that panel. I don't know how I don't know to what degree each of them were, but I know they were involved. Um, and basically they got like cold shouldered by the Big Bad Con leadership, and so they were like, all right, we're taking this like nuclear. We're saying uh, until these demands are met, like people should not go to this convention.
I see. I see.
Yeah, I think it's a very reasonable thing to do. I think if your voice isn't being respected, and uh, if the if you're putting time and effort and care into creating a panel for a convention, I think they should listen to the things that you say. I don't think it's harassment to make demands. I have heard that there's been some harassment and like death threats and stuff on either side, and obviously, people shouldn't be doing any of that. But I do think that it's important to distinguish like what's what, and I think that what they're doing is like completely understandable within their rights. Um, and it seems like things are going. I'm annoyed by Big Bad Con, but I think things are going pretty well, is what I'll say.
Seems to be a lot better than fucking Gen Con.
Yeah, Gen Con was just complete cold shoulder, so at least
They blocked me on Twitter for asking on one of their sponsored posts like, "Hey, when are you guys gonna not be fucking stupid?" I said it nicer than that,
God.
but like they immediately blocked me. Like, "Oh, cool, you care more about your sponsors." Then, okay, great.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if something like this happens with PAX U. This is just kind of like a theory. I don't know.
Wouldn't
But
surprise me.
it seems like every TTRPG convention these days, there's some sort of, I don't want to say hubbub because, okay,
Dumb shit.
dumb shit. Because what I want to say is, I'm blaming the people in power and not the people who are being oppressed here. Like,
Obviously, yeah.
I'm coming at this from an angle of like, hubbub is created by people who are in power, not by people who are trying to advocate for their rights, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I just thought that might be misconstrued potentially. But yeah, I think it's
Hey, chat, clip that.
I
Chat.
clipped that. I clipped that. But yeah,
You're going down.
I think that it's kind of frustrating to see this like repeat with every convention, and I hope that things get a little more quiet. Or specifically, I hope that like there's justice. Because
Yeah,
like
yeah. I don't mind if there's noise. I just want it to be our noise.
yeah, absolutely. Like when I say quiet, I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I want people who agree with me who are right about a like very obvious genocide to have their opinions respected and like projected.
So, I was See, I was nominated for a crit award for Hypermall, so like I was paying more attention to Gen Con.
Mhm.
And actually my publisher played it. I ran Hypermall there. But
Hell yeah.
like for the crit awards thing, it was literally bots. The Zionist, like pro-Zionist bots that caused this whole thing on like their Twitter and maybe their Discord. I'm not sure, but I know I saw it on Twitter, like accounts that had been made. Like I think they started, a bunch of them were like October, like the start of the current conflict, and all they post is like they gravitate to posts about, Israel, and they're like talking about Zionism and stuff, and that's like none of these people are people. If they are real people, they don't play tabletop games, and
Yeah.
Gen Con chose to listen to them because it's bad optics to say Jewish people are making a mistake. Like it's because people are so afraid to be quote unquote anti-Semitic that if you say something is anti-Semitic, they will believe you.
Right.
Sorry, that what I'm not. That's not a conspiracy. What I mean is, like,
No, you're right.
yeah, I'm not. I don't mean that in like a. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Okay,
But
I'll
I'm
make
not
it worse.
anti-Semitic.
It's golems basically. Like they have these golems, right? They have in these labs that they're like using, like basically like space super science to create from yeah, they're using like super science, and like they stole it from who could they steal? Like maybe like the Persians or something. I don't know. We're starting like some really old like ethnic feuds.
The Pharaoh, he's
Yeah, they stole it from the Pharaoh, and they're using it to create like golems, and they're putting the word instead of truth, they're putting lies in the golems, like because obviously truth is the word they use to make the golem live in the story of the Golem of Prague, and so.
And I've seen these golem factories, and all of the words that they're putting in these golems just say "you're trans now." That's all it says. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. These force femme golems are wild. Sapphic World
That's
will
the
be out
story of
eventually.
Thanksgiving.
That's the story of Thanksgiving. Sapphic World coming soon. Um, but yeah, thank you for riding that tangent with me. This is the plot of the new Hypermall adventure I'm writing. Please be so careful. There's a reason why I put "I am Jewish" over my eyes.
To be clear, I'm not. I don't even know how to like word this without digging the whole.
No, I don't think you're.
I said something really dumb.
You're good. But no, I do think you're right. I think like obviously like Israel has a Israel has shooters, right? Like that's just kind of the fundamental, like whether they be internal or external, Israel has shooters, and they will
That's an insane way to put that.
I mean,
like, you're not wrong. That's just an insane way to word that.
I mean they do. But I mean they also
No, they do. It's a known fact. It's not a conspiracy.
They also have pedophiles. Like that's our main export to them. Is pedophiles.
Yeah, well, I'm Canadian, so like we have Drake, so
Oh, okay. Sorry, the United States main export. I don't know about.
No,
Canada.
I know about that. No, I know.
Yeah. You're also Jewish, hell yeah. To go Jews. Yeah, that's all I want to say about this. I feel like reading Hypermall right before this has changed the tenor of this show in a really fun way. So I have to thank you for that. But
you're welcome.
Well, let's take a little break. Please send emails to darlingdemonclips@gmail.com. Ask any question that you have for myself or JD here. We're gonna talk about those after the break, and I think yeah, I think they should put Drake in jail. We'll be back.
And so, like, what I was saying is, oh shit, we're live. Okay.
See, so here's the thing that I used to do, which is I used to do the visuals first and then I did the audio. And recently what I've started doing is doing the audio first and then the visuals, because I know that people will want to do bits like that. Some people do it at the start of the
Yeah.
show, some people do it after the break, but
Yeah, I know.
it's very funny. It's- um, do you want to give that plug you wanted to do?
Yeah. Buy hemorrhoid cream. No. The Hypermall Kickstarter is accepting late pledges. You can still do it. Yeah, it's in chat. Give money. Also, watch the video. It was a lot of fun to work on. I didn't do the visuals or the music. My friend did. Friends. There's two people. Just watch the video. It's very good. Anyway, uh, back to Fortnite.
Yeah, back to talk. Let's talk about Fortnite really quick. What's the current? Is the current season the Doctor Doom one? I think that's what it is. I don't know if they like.
Sure.
I don't know if that one's over. I know my friend Marcy was very excited to get Gwenpool in that, so that's pretty cool. Let's answer some questions from my email. Let's bring in Apocrypha, the email bird, or I guess it's just the mail bird. Although really, I've only ever had. If someone wants to send me a letter for the DOVECOTE, I will read it on stream. I will put my camera, aim my camera down at my desk, and I will read it. I'll have a little light, and I'll read it on stream. So that's a real genuine offer.
Yeah, tell me your address. Tell me your address on stream. That sounds great.
T-Man 4200, who also thank you for the follow earlier. I didn't acknowledge it because I thought it was too funny. I thought it was too on topic. Asks JD, how do you feel about the current season of Fortnite Festival, which is the Guitar Hero?
I think that it's bad that they're exposing our children to this. And I've definitely played it a lot, so I know what I'm talking about. I think that that's reductive to ask that.
All of Le Wokisme in it is your problem with it, I assume.
What?
You know, like wokeism in French, where it's like le wokisme.
Yeah, it's too woke. That's
Yeah.
we can boil it down. My opinion is that it's too woke.
Yeah. Okay, we have a question from Lilith Lilac Leviathan, my partner in crime, or one of my partners in crime in You Are Beheld. Lilith says, it's interesting that a bunch of weird cyberpunk-adjacent body mess games have been coming out recently. I wonder why that is. Lilith Lilac, maker of Euphoria 2180, a weird cyberpunk-adjacent body mess game. As like a trend. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I got to play Lycoma with the creator Strega Wolf at BreakoutCon, which is really fun. It's a cool game, and it's very much about body horror and meat and all that stuff. I didn't know that was like a trend when I started making Hypermall, and then I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's neat. I'm in the zeitgeist by accident.
Yeah, it is interesting that is a trend. I'm trying to think of like what things have come out recently that would like produce that. I
guess
yeah.
There's definitely like a I have no idea. Like, I mean, I'm a straight guy. I don't know, but I assume there's like a queer element to it, right? Because it's like body freedom, and then also like the horror of your body doing things you don't want it to do or be in the wrong shape is like, I don't know. That's really cool. It's really interesting and terrifying.
Yeah. I think Carter got a lot. President Carter got a lot of shit for this. Jimmy Carter got a lot of shit for saying that America was in a malaise, because it wasn't a word that the average American would necessarily recognize or know what he meant. And on some level, the fact that the average American didn't recognize or know what he meant kind of added to the malaisical quality of it, right? But I think that's been true since he said that. And like, I think it's been true about a lot of like the Western world, quote unquote. The imperial core is like, there's a deep underlying sense that like rights are not rights. Rights can be taken away, instantaneously with no reason. Things can happen outside of the imperial core that are so just disgusting and like and violent and brutal, like at a whim, just because someone wants to do them. And so I think that like those factors and then also like we have like communities of artists and queer folk and all that stuff. And so like I can see why there's a lot of interest in art that is about finding and also climate change, obviously. Art that is about like finding solidarity in the end of the world, in the kind of dissolution of the body and of like of the classic, like, the quote unquote perfect body with 2 arms and 2 legs and a head, and they all work in a certain way. Especially for like disabled folks, queer folks. And I also agree, dissatisfaction with cyberpunk games proper. I think like Shadowrun and Cyberpunk as TTRPGs have been stagnating for many, many years with these massive skill lists. And I think there's an interest in getting to the heart of what makes those sorts of settings interesting, which is getting really body freaky with it in a way that has very few consequences.
Cyberpunk, like, specifically being like, having robot arms makes you less of a human? What the fuck are you talking about, dude? What does that even mean?
Yeah, and you also need like the Mark III robot arms that cost like 10,200 cyber cred before you can actually like throw large objects or whatever. Like, it's so tiered that it just becomes like, I think flattening that stuff and making it like, you have cyber arms, they're awesome, they do cool shit, and you can do cool shit with them, is like so much more interesting. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. Well, thank you, Lilith. I hope that was a good answer. I know we kind of gave a couple answers to that, but
if it was a bad answer, talk to my lawyer.
Yeah, talk to the lady in the suit over there. This is a question from JD for JD. Why are you so handsome and strong and also very cool? That's really interesting. I'm kind of curious.
Well, thank you, anonymous asker. I've been really excited to talk about this. So I'm really handsome because I'm strong, and I'm really strong because I'm humble.
Oh.
And there's I'm always saying this. Yeah, I don't know who that person is. They seem really smart and cool though. And if they had a niche page, you should buy the things that are on it. But again, I don't know who that person is.
I would agree.
That might have been JD Vance, actually. That's crazy.
That's crazy. JD Vance is like a huge designer, right? JD Vance had like a really successful Kickstarter recently.
Yeah, he did Couches and Cuckolds. It's crazy.
Can't you get his game on Kickstarter? Hyperball Unlimited Violence physical release?
Yes.
That's awesome. Holy shit.
It's crazy that the vice presidential candidate JD Vance made that game.
Yeah, JD Vance.
I want to fuck a couch. Anyway.
You love fucking couches. It's so cool. Awesome. I guess I'll answer on my end. An interesting fusion of like a kind of testosteronic, that's a crazy word, testosteronic puberty followed by like estrogen and progesterone, I think have made me very handsome and cool. So yeah, it's an interesting adjective for a trans woman, but I'll take it. Um, that's such.
What's
That's
really funny
crazy.
about that is that that question was specifically not directed at you.
Uh-huh.
Please, excuse you.
This is like such a. What's the.
This was about me.
Yeah, this is like such. This is a bit that I really like. I think that it's what's her name? The lady who had like Chet Hanks on her show. This is such like Z-Way interviewing. I'm like baiting you into into like transphobia. No, you're not. You're fine. I promise you're fine. I'm being very silly here. We have another question.
I'll get more do we need that? I can do. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we need more transphobia on the show.
Listen, here's a list of genders I don't think are valid. Okay, I'm gonna. Number 1.
Yeah, let's not kink shame. Does actually Zig? I'm asking you a question now. Does your game Dinosaur Erotica have couches as a like? Is there a couch? I want to know if there's a couch. I've read parts of Dinosaur Erotica, but like I have not been very thorough. So I'd love to know that.
This is the first I'm hearing of this game. Based on the name alone, if I can't fuck a couch as a T-Rex, I'm gonna go to your house. Like I don't.
You probably can, if I had to guess. Just like if you probably can. It's just like, is this a prompt that Zig has put in the game?
Is it optimal to your build? Is what I need to know.
Specifically, did not include couches for that reason. I understand.
All I'm hearing is cowardice.
Yeah. I hope you can learn to grow and change, Zig. That's a really cool game.
Love
Folks should watch
wins.
out for that. Yeah. Okay. This is an interesting one. I might need to kind of comprehend this before I... I think I'm going to kind of comprehend this live on air.
Oh boy.
So this is from a mysterious question asker. If you want to identify yourself, you can. How carefully do you find yourself considering the specific ambiguities or certainties of word choice and phrasing when writing moves or other material that dictates or suggests what one can do? It seems to me like there's a difficult line to tread if you're interested in specifically word games. I think I know what this is about, because I've had some conversations with Jay about this.
That's a really good question, and like way smarter than anything I've said at all, ever.
It's definitely
like
it's a good question.
For games like Power by the Apocalypse games specifically are like they do have a way, like a grammar of how that's not the right word, but like how moves are worded, kind of, where it's almost like Magic the Gathering, where if the formatting is wrong, it doesn't work.
Right.
As and that's really interesting. And then a lot of people, when they're making Power of Apocalypse games, just do that and then don't think about how it actually interacts with the narrative, and it kind of ends up bad. But not all of them. So that's a really interesting question. I don't know if I have an answer to it, but I do think a lot about specific words, and I'll like agonize over individual words and sentences and be like, this doesn't sound right, even though it would be perfectly passable.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. By the way, this is a question from Ian, because Ian has identified herself in the chat. So I have a couple thoughts about this. I don't know if this was on the DOVECOTE, but I had J-Dragon. I had a conversation with J-Dragon that was basically like about 7-part. Jay's awesome. Jay's really cool. About 7-part pact. That was basically, actually, I think Jay's gonna be on again soon, before the 50th episode. Anyways, conversation about the 7-part pact, where Jay was talking about like, I've stopped including things that you can't do in the book, and I've instead started including things that happen when you do things that are bad or that are like consequential, right? And I think that's a really interesting approach, and I think like that sort of axiomatic approach to design has required me not to think very much um about what will happen if certain things are interpreted certain ways or interact with certain things. Um, like,
Sorry, is that like you would word a move or something like when you shoot God in the head, this happens.
yeah, like when you shoot God in the head with a
I
silver
don't know why
bullet,
that was the example, but
yeah, like when you shoot God in the head, this happens. If you use a copper bullet, this other thing happens, right? Instead of saying you can't use a copper bullet to
okay.
shoot God in the head, because that's not necessarily interesting. It's just a it's just a rejection, and also it is opening yourself up to a situation in which you make another move that says like this is the copper god killing bullet, or like making a table, right, where it's like, okay, you're gonna make a piece of ammunition using this move, and the table has like materials, qualities and types of ammunition, and one of them is copper, one of them is god killing, one of them is bullet. um so I think like that's sort of like axiomatic design, where it's about like it's not about like making a perfectly entangled web of things that interact with each other, but instead a lot of really silly little bits and bobs uh, that open themselves up to interpretation in really crazy ways. I think is where I tend to sit on like thinking about design as I do it, where
Yeah.
I try to make design that I don't have to think about, because it'll just kind of cascade naturally. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I like that. Um, in a game I'm working on, I've taken a break from it, but called Coffin Keep. And I don't know if this is really even related, but it's got me thinking. Like in Coffin Keep, there's a it's not a resource, but there's this thing called dread that you accumulate as these monsters chase you through this dungeon. These pursuers, these very powerful beings, um, and different aspects of the game use dread. They're like these dice for different things. Like you roll them when you loot things, and the more dread you have, the better chance you have of getting something good. And like you accumulate dread uh, either when a move says so, or like if you make a really loud noise in this dungeon, things are going to catch up to you. Like, so there's no move in the game that says be quiet. You just have to be quiet.
Right.
And this is the consequence of not being quiet.
That's really fun. I like that a lot, and I think that is a perfect example of like, you know, expecting the expecting the players and the GM and the people at the table to understand what what the consequences of these, or like what these things look like and how they are, and like I think having trust in your players and having trust in your table is really good. Um,
Originally, there was a move where you could gain dread intentionally in order to get away from a situation,
oh,
and that like worked, and it was useful. But I got rid of it because it was like, no, the interesting part is the running away. Like that's the whole. It's not the whole game, but it's like that's a thing you don't want to use discourse. That's a rule you don't want elided or away. I don't even know if I said that right, but
yeah, that's yeah, makes sense.
that's part of the game that you don't want removed, and that's the way that the thing that Jay is talking about is really interesting because it allows that kind of. It's not a no, but it's a like here's consequences kind
Yeah,
of thing.
it's
I don't know,
a
it's
yes
really
and.
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
I also think like there's an element of this that's about like about incentives. Which God, so I'm gonna get like shot in the head for this. Someone from OSR or from Story Games is gonna kill me for saying this, and I don't know who it is, and I don't follow the discourse enough to care. Um, but like there's been a lot of stuff in Sapphic World where I'm like, that gives you way too much slumber, or that gives you like uh way too many options, and often the thing that I've done is like slumber being XP basically. Uh, and the thing that I've done is not be like, okay, I'm just removing this move entirely. It's been like, okay, what is a more interesting and more thematic thing that this could do? And so I think that's like another element of it is if you find something that's like deeply unbalanced, or like really fucky. One, think about if it's actually unbalanced or if like you're kind of in a 10 by 10 room barbarian situation. And then two, think about like, all right, so I'm removing this thing. What are other areas that I can fill in flavor? What are other areas that I can make the narrative consequences of this thing more interesting? Um, a lot of game design is just kind of looking over the same thing many, many times and making sure that it will not break the game.
See, I've talked about this on Twitter sometimes. I don't give a shit about balance most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do balance my games. Originally, I thought I didn't, and then I thought about it more. I was like, oh, wait, no, I do. Yeah, it is a lot. It's definitely like poetry, absolutely. Yeah. But like, if specifically in Hypermall, if there's abilities that are way stronger than other abilities, but your character is random, and the ability, most of the abilities you might get when you advance or Faith Mutagen are like random. So it's not, that level of balance isn't that important as long as everyone can do something interesting and preferably unique. I think it's fine.
Yeah,
but there's certain games that doesn't work.
Yeah, I care more about like diversity and interesting stuff. There are very few situations where I'll be like, okay, that's overpowered, right? Like, but also I'm not really designing games that have like, as you said, I'm not really designing games that have like power in that way. I'm making games where like, you know, the highest stake if something is overpowered is like you're going to advance a little faster, which I've already kind of cut out at this point, so it's not really a big issue.
I think the main problem with like a power imbalance, specifically with like an ability, is when it would infringe on other people at the table from having fun or doing stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why something in like D&D, when I played D&D, I always fucking hated the knock spell. Because it's a spell that unlocks things, right? There's a whole class whose entire thing is unlocking stuff. You don't need to give the wizard that ability, guys.
Yeah. Definitely unfortunate. I very much agree with that. It's
or like the identify spell. I don't want to identify things. I want to experiment with this magic sword and see what happens.
Yeah, I think stuff that makes things too easy, or uninteresting, right? That has like easy solutions can be bad. Definitely writing a game meant to be like make a stupid poetic combo and spam it rather than everything is balanced. Hell yeah. Then I think if that's like where you want to be, lean into it. Like, you know, I mean, obviously like I made Sapphic World to be like, what if like it's like gay sex Noida. Like it's like about making a it's about making a character. Yeah, I mean it's about making a character that's like gonna do stuff that's really bizarre to the world, repeatedly and in constant ways.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, an old Sawo move let you gain slumber, and there's no reason not to take that option. I think options is also a good way to think about it. Is like, if I were presented all of these things, which of them would I pick if I knew what the numbers were? I guess, and so I think evening that out can be a good thing to do, especially in like a tight thing like a PBTA.
Yeah. Actually, I have something to say about this.
Yeah.
So the idea of character options is cool. It's like, it gives you, it's an empowering thing. You get to make your own, you get to choose your own destiny, essentially, when you level up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I basically took that out of Hypermall. Well, it was never in to begin with, but I removed that because I want this experience to be disempowering.
Right.
You are not. You are a scum. You are a piece. You are shit. You are nothing. You do not have the power to choose what you are and how. Like you can change a lot about yourself, but it costs a lot more money than just, you know, rolling that dice and seeing what might happen.
Yeah, it's great.
So like it in games that are about being at the lowest rung of society, I think more people should consider what aspects of game design are incidentally empowering or disempowering. And I'm obviously I'm not the first person to think of that, but like it's something I don't see discussed a lot.
Yeah, I very much agree. Like it's important to consider like what is the power or non-power fantasy that your game is telling. Like obviously Mothership is a game that like, you know, loop has basically like downward spiral loops in a way that I haven't seen in any other game that are devastating and result in like common TPKs or character deaths. And that's because it's a game about being, you know, space people who no one cares about. And then, you know, there are a lot of games where like you only die when you really want to. So I think considering those incentives is really important. Playing a game that prohibits being a power fantasy but still allows catharsis is why I love Hypermall. I'm excited. I want to give Hypermall a try sometime. It seems very fun.
I fucking hate it. I hate the guy who made it. He sucks.
Sick of this shit. Yeah, JD Vance, stop it. No.
Every class is about fucking couches. I don't.
Yeah, it's really weird.
The most useful skill.
Yeah. Well, that's all we got. That's all we got for emails. So I think we'll wrap up here. Thank you so much for being on, JD. I'm going to let me post the Kickstarter thing again.
Had a stellar time.
Hell yeah, I'm very glad. I think we're going to raid Sophie Baby, who's playing Escape from Tarkov. I don't really know much about Escape from Tarkov, but I don't know. Have fun. And we'll be back next week with, let's see, who do I have on the calendar? I always forget. Until...
Don't be more handsome than me. Don't be more handsome than me. Don't be more handsome than me.
Oh shit, it's Piper Venera. It's the return of the first ever Dovecote guest, so be ready for that.
It. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, the return of girls. So be ready, be prepared for that. It's gonna be... I don't think we're going to talk about that Dimension 20 series we said we would talk about. I'm sorry, everyone. But be ready, it'll be cool. Yeah, take care, everyone.
Brendan Lee Mulligan is so hot. Anyway, have a great time. I had an awesome time.
Bye.
Hit that like button.
Remember, if you don't like what you see, you can change it. It's up to you, really. Goodbye, good luck, and have fun